Yeah, just thinking about it, right? I mean,
I think we've covered it all. I think we've scared everyone, and the boat sales, the industry as a whole is going to collapse now.
Well, I mean, there's lots of people that it does make sense to repower. There are people. Hello and welcome to Boat Talk, where we talk about all the ings of boats. And in this week's episode, we only have one ing, and that is repowering.
Oh, good. It's easy to deal with.
To be or not to be. We're going to be talking a deep dive about repowering, whether you should, whether you shouldn't. We're going to talk about what's involved and just all kinds of stuff about repowering because we get a lot of emails. So we'll get to that in a second. We are your hosts. I'm Justin Riggy, VP of Manufacturing. With me is Corey, VP of Operations. These days, we just get too many calls to answer and field every call and email. I mean, there's only two of us, three of us with Tony, but we can't get to everything. So we've been doing this podcast to try to answer your questions and get all this information out there for everyone.
Get the good word out there.
Get the good word out.
Right.
Yeah, we're spreading the word.
Spreading the good word.
All right. So, repowering. So what prompted this? I'd like to give a little shout out. If you'd like to email us, boattalk@sbmar.com. I got an email from Taylor Lund. And Taylor said, I've been watching your repower videos for many years, and I've found your online resources exceptionally educational. I'm sure he's talking about Boat Talk.
Of course.
Currently rebuilding a 26 Radden and considering various repower solutions. Ideally, I would lengthen the hull a few feet and install Cummins with a remote V-drive and tunnel. Quite a project.
Big project.
But it might not make sense with my budget and my use case as a recreational boater. So he goes on to talk about asking questions about propeller size and specific stuff. I'm not going to get into that just yet. Maybe we'll get into that later, but we just wanted to talk about repowering. What do you think? What's involved in a repower project?
It's such a good topic because it really is kind of the central nougaty center of what we do, right?
Yeah.
We consider ourselves the Cummins repower specialists, right? And that's really what started this whole entire endeavor, was taking old engines out of boats and putting in not only new engines, but sometimes reconfigured drivetrains. Tony is the absolute master, and probably will be forever, of the V-drive. He loves V-drives. He loves remote V-drives. And that's for a lot of different reasons. The V-drive gives you a tremendous amount of flexibility as to how the running gear is put into the boat, how the boat is trimmed, how you can get in and out of the boat, right? All those things play a role. However,
completely changes the configuration of the boat.
Completely does. And it's a wonderful setup. Is it as easy as putting a standard engine and a prop and a shaft in there with a transmission? No, it's not as easy. It's much more difficult. It's much more involved when you talk about how engineering and configuration. But when someone says the word repower, there's a lot of things get sparked. Number one, there's always a dream behind it.
Right.
Okay, everyone has the boat dream. I have the boat dream.
And one of the places where the boat dream starts, so in our, we have a lot of videos, and we have a couple of good video series. One is like I think they're good because I made them, but the lobster boat, Andre's lobster boat, and that was the very first project I ever worked on when I first started here at Seaboard.
It was a big project,
and I decided to make videos, and now we got this YouTube channel, but it just kind of started because I thought, I was learning from Frank how to do repowers, and so we made all these videos, and that's probably the most detailed series because we started from an empty hull all the way to sea trial, and with some cool drone shots. Cool, thanks to Corey.
Yeah, that was cool.
And then we also had the Sweet Bippy, was another really, really detailed one with a lot of good information. We started with the dock, the customer pulling his boat in the dock. I got video of that, interviewed him before we even took the engines out, why he was doing the repower, all that stuff, and then lots of video of all the work we did all the way through sea trial.
Yep.
And so people watch these videos and they go, oh, that looks neat. That looks fun, right?
100%.
And they think, oh, maybe I should do that to my boat.
Or I'd love to do that to my boat.
Yeah, wouldn't we all, right?
Of course.
Wouldn't anybody like to have a Bertram, not actually a Bertram, but it's what's the actual?
Crystal liner.
It's a copy, or it's not a copy, but it's actually designed by Bertram. But then they got sued. They only got to make that.
I thought it was a crystal liner. Maybe it's not a crystal.
I
I
mean,
don't know. It's one of those. We'll have
yeah.
to go back. Let's
It's been
go
a
watch the
couple
video.
It's been. Yeah, we should watch the video. Yeah. So anyway, yeah, everybody love a Bertram with a couple of Cummins QSB 5.9s in it, right? I mean that's the
Heck
dream.
yeah.
That's the dream. But what's really involved? I mean, this is a huge expensive project. Now, if anybody says they were doing a repower because they want to save on gas,
Not worth it.
you'll never recoup. You could buy a tanker of gas.
For a refinery.
You can buy a refinery with what it's going to cost you to put 2 diesel in.
It's not going to net out.
You're not going to save money on gas.
No.
Now, will it cost you maybe less fuel per trip? Sure.
Well, you'll save money on gas, but you're not going to, you'll still be on the hole.
Yeah. So if someone's like, yeah, these gas engines are just eating up so much fuel. If that's your motivation, I mean, unless you're out there all day, every day, commercial guy, then maybe you'll get the returns. No commercial guys are running gas engines. I mean,
that's the typical use case,
right.
Scenario is, okay, well, you want to put diesel engines in your boat. Why? Yeah, and if a recreational guy that's only putting, let's say even 1,000 hours a year, okay, which would be
a lot,
pretty awesome for a rec guy.
Have to be retired.
Super retired. It still wouldn't make sense. The commercial guys are out there, they make that's their livelihood, right? And they're out there 8 hours a day or however long they're out there burning tremendous amounts of fuel. At that point, you start, the line that's blurred between return on investment, right, starts making sense.
Right. Yeah. And the some of the other reasons that people will say is there's the fuel savings. Now there's reliability, longevity.
Sure.
So if you're building a boat, again, that you're going to use for the next 10, 15 years, like this is the dream boat. Let's say you're retiring or you're going to retire soon and you got the money and you're like, oh, I'm building that. I want to have that dream boat. I want it just so. Then it could make sense because having brand new engines, knowing the whole history of the engines, knowing them right from break-in all the way through, you know what you're getting into, exactly what you're getting into. You got a reliable power plant. It will be more fuel efficient than gas. It's safer. You'd see all those YouTube videos of people's gas boats blowing up.
Yeah.
But if you're doing it for cost, if cost is any kind of concern, if you're worried about money at all, and I mean at all, like
don't do it.
Go buy a boat that already has engines in it.
Yeah, that's really right. When you talk about the trade-offs and the balance of trying to assess, getting into a boat that has diesel engines, versus repowering an existing boat or buying someone else's boat who's already been repowered, it's a no-brainer between what the cost benefit would be, right?
Right. And I would argue you could get a mid, or if you're going to be a really casual recreational user, don't be afraid of even a kind of a higher hour engine, as long as it runs strong and checks out in the sea trial. If you're not going to be putting a couple 100 hours a year, these engines, especially if you take the props down and get them pitched a little bit less, or if it's already conservatively propped, if you have a conservatively propped boat, these Cummins engines can go for thousands and thousands of hours. So in some cases, 10, 20, 30,000 hours we see.
Sure.
On boats that are generally run at planing speeds. But so if you're at all worried about money and you think you want to get into the diesel world, buy a boat that already has engines, already runs good, turnkey, ready to go. You still better be prepared for some expenses.
Sure.
But you'll never come anywhere close to that with a repower.
Yeah, so we get this question all the time. I can't tell you how many emails are of guys that have the dream of converting their boat either from gas to diesel or getting some really old Detroit diesels out of their boat and upgrading to something modern. And the first question is always financially based. It has to be, right? It's like, okay, what ballpark are we playing in? Or what ballpark do you think you want to play in, right? All these engines behind us here are all very, very, very expensive engines. And I think a couple of things you have to consider. Number one, what's the hard parts cost going to be?
Right.
All right. You got to get into that ballpark and understand what these things actually cost. Number two, they're just on a pallet. They're
Right.
just sitting there.
Right.
Okay. So let's just say you spend all that money and the guy drops the pallet off next to your boat. Well, you still got to get the old stuff out of there and you got to get the new stuff in there and do it right. And make sure let's say if you're going from some old system like Detroit diesels or whatever, Caterpillars or something, and you're going to a modern day diesel that's electronically controlled.
Footprint's different.
There's a lot of subsystems that need to be upgraded. DC power, fuel system requirements are different for these modern day engines.
Yep.
And
Instrumentation.
All these things, right? So when you ask about, what does a repower really cost? It always costs more than you think it costs. Okay. It just does. Okay. And that's true for a lot of different things. Building a house or doing all these things.
Getting your kitchen remodeled.
Yeah, it costs more.
Contractor tells you 50 grand, you got to be ready for 75.
At least.
Yeah.
Right. And there's no difference in the marine repower world. It is very expensive. These engines are very expensive engines. There's a lot of other components you need, transmissions, flanges, shafts, props, filters, batteries, and then you got to maybe pay a guy to do it.
Oh yeah,
right. Because if you're going to do it, well, if you're retired and hands-on, you're going to save some money.
Yeah.
But is it just you, or do you have a buddy? All these things play a role in there, right? So there's the R&R of the engines. There's the hard parts. So a lot of guys will come in and say, well, I've got a $50,000 budget. I'd like to convert to diesel, and you have to go back and say that won't even by the engine. So,
right.
Right. It's just managing expectations of what ballpark we're playing in.
Yeah.
So to go back to what you said originally, it's like if you roll into a potential, repower and have any sort of aversion to your budget, and that's, you have a fixed budget and it's really tight, I'd say it's not a good idea.
Yeah. Yeah. So let's talk about a few specific things. Let's talk about some specific cases. So one of the common cases is, I got a couple of gas engines and I'd like to put some Cummins, maybe QSB 5.9s are usually a pretty good replacement for a gas engine, but it just depends. Got a couple gas engines and I want to put some QSBs in there.
Okay.
We're talking a whole new fuel system because you're going from gas to diesel. A lot of times that means new fuel tanks.
Yep.
Usually the hatch needs to be enlarged because they don't fit. New engine mounts, new transmission, new prop shaft, complete new running gear, and new instrumentation, right? So that would be the minimum. So instrumentation, prop shaft, running gear, probably redoing the log. So like patching the old log.
Everything changes.
And strut, right?
100%.
A strut's a couple grand right there. A propeller's a few grand. A prop shaft's a few grand. So you're talking $6-8 grand in just parts for the propeller, the prop shaft, strut.
I would say, depending on what it is, it could be more than that.
It's less labor,
right?
And you need a machinist to prepare, to do all that stuff.
Right.
Frank does it all here in house. But that's just the prop shaft. You're talking upwards of 10 grand. Okay, you could buy a nice gas engine for less than that.
Yeah, great motor.
Yep, and hook it up to that old shaft.
Put a 383 stroker in there, right?
Right?
Real nice.
Yeah, you get a really nice gas engine. I mean, crate motors are like what? I don't know.
You can get crate motors 6 to 10 grand.
6 to 10 grand. Yeah, and best part is same fuel tank, same prop shaft,
right?
Same propeller, same.
Not the same fuel economy as the diesel.
No,
not even close.
Nope.
But price wise, much better.
Yeah. And so if you're thinking about going from gas to diesel, you really got to dig deep and think, why am I doing this? Because it's a big project. Okay. Yeah. That's a big project. And you're talking $250,000, $300,000 maybe.
Yeah. In the world that we live in with mid-range diesels, like all these here, anywhere from 2 to let's say 500 horsepower. I mean, just an engine on a pallet could be 50, 60 grand, of today's dollars, yeah. Right? It was a lot different pre-COVID. Let's say 50, 60 grand. Transmissions probably between 5 and 10 grand. And all the other things you talked about. There's another 10 grand for this. Now you got fuel filters. Now you got new batteries. Now you got battery cables. Now you got new tanks. I mean, you could easily, for a mid-range boat that's 30 foot to 40 foot, and you want to take out gas engines and you want to put in diesel, figure you're going to spend between $200,000 and $250,000.
Yeah.
And for most people that are coming in just trying to figure out what that number is, blows them out of the water.
Right. Yeah.
And it would me too.
Yeah. People are like, whoa.
Because you can go probably take that 250 grand, like you said, go take
150 grand.
Take a flight down to Florida, okay, walk the docks, And I guarantee you there's somebody trying to offload his boat for 150 grand
Right.
that you would have paid 250 grand to get to.
Right.
Okay. Well, not exactly.
Plus you had to have a boat to start with.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So I hope this is all resonating with everyone, because it really is, it's a tough thing. It's a tough sell. I mean, we don't go out trying to sell repowers, right? Most of the repowers come to us.
Yeah.
It would never be possible. I couldn't hand you a brochure and say, "Hey, have you ever thought about repowering?"
Yeah.
I wouldn't get any customers.
And we'll get into who. First, we're trying to scare you out of it because because we care about you. Right. You got to be crazy.
Well, it's like someone who has a classic car that they want to restore.
Right.
And you're going to get the same response from the guy that's going to do the work. He's like, "Well, do you love the car?"
Right.
And you're like, "Well, of course I love the car. Why would I?" He's like, "Because it's not."
Do you love
the car? Because it's not a sound investment, right? You're going to lose money. That's why they call it classic cars money pits, and boats are no different. I'm sure airplanes are even worse, right?
Right. I want to circle back another little topic here: remodeling. So we were talking about the bare minimum, right? Get like the gas engine. So you might also decide this, as Taylor mentioned, maybe lengthening his boat by 2 feet.
Okay.
A few feet. He said lengthening the hull by a few feet. You start adding stuff like that. That's major work. There's not a lot of people that know how to do it.
Well, that know how to do it right.
Right.
Anyone could chop a boat in half.
And we've seen some funky work out there. A little bit of experience, which is rare. Not a lot of people have chopped a boat in half. Now we have the Sea Harvester video.
That's a great video.
Where we lengthened the boat because he was having a problem with his outdrives and couldn't get on plane. So Tony made the decision that to really make this boat get on plane and be able to carry all the gear he wanted to carry. And he already had an engine. He already had a QSB 5.9, but it wasn't working well with the length of the boat and the outdrive. So we made the decision to lengthen that boat, and it helped a lot. It helped that boat plane out. Had gear to carry, so he needed that surface area to carry that gear. But what I want to say is, so we're talking 250, 200, 250, 300 grand maybe for a basic. Now, if you want to lengthen the boat and change the cabin, or like with the Sweet Bippy, we had to redo the back wall. Remember, the back wall was rotten. You might find some things that need to be repaired. So repair and remodeling is going to be above and beyond that. So if you're like, oh, well, I was thinking I want to add a berth here or change the bunks or, whatever.
Which most people do, because once you open that baby up, your brain says, well, now's the time to do it. Exactly. And it just adds to the time and cost of the project.
Right. So that's another thing to think of, is remodeling is on top of all of that other expense of the mechanical stuff. So if you're really talking about changing a boat, now then you get to a point, does it make sense to really change a boat, or should I just buy a boat that's more like what I want? It probably makes more sense, because whatever boat you have, somebody probably wants that.
You hope.
Sell that to them, and then you go buy one that's more like what you want. If you have any consideration of cost, right? If you have any concern,
if you have an open pocketbook and the world is your oyster, then get that oyster.
Yeah,
right.
By all
you
means.
can do whatever you want. There's guys out there that can do it, right?
Yeah, we'll talk about that a little more in the good candidate section.
There you go.
So, one of the things I want to talk about is labor. Labor is a big component. Now, if you're one of these people that, let's say you're self-employed or retired or semi-retired or something like that, and this sounds like a fun hobby. We've had it happen. We rent space out in our boatyard here. Remember Matt? He worked offshore.
Yeah.
And I can't remember his last name.
Rawlings.
Yeah. So he worked offshore in the oil rigs, which is a big, big industry here, in California, believe it or not. And so he had like the 2 week on, 2 week off schedule or whatever. So he had a lot of spare time on his hands. He spent the better part of I'd say 1.5 years, 2 years.
I would say the better part of 1.5 years.
Yeah.
Yes.
And he did all the work himself. Not all. He had Frank here, which is a great resource.
He did the majority of the work.
But he did the majority of the work. Frank helped him with some of the key things, and Frank gave him some free tips, which we do. If you do bring your boat here and you want to work on it yourself, that's an option.
You also get a free t-shirt.
Yeah, you get a free t-shirt. For every 200 grand you get one free shirt.
For every 200,000 spent, you get a free t-shirt.
So that can save you a lot of money. Now you're looking at the cost of the materials, a little bit more for labor. You're going to need some specialty labor. You're going to need a machinist, unless you're a machinist, a welder, unless you have all these skills, right?
Right.
You're going to need a machinist a little bit.
And
you're going to need a little welder a little bit. But if you come to a place like where we have all the hardware, we let people use some tools.
Yep.
And so in that case, you can shave a lot of the cost down.
That's 100%. And Matt was that guy that could do that. But okay, he went and worked 2 weeks on.
Yeah.
And basically worked 2 weeks off. He had thousands of hours into that boat with his hands.
He was here 8 hours a day. I'd say 4 or 5 days a week.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe he'd probably correct me on that. Say it was even more, but he was here a lot. I mean, it was like a part-time job.
Yep.
And so, so that is one of those cases where it can make sense. It's called, sweat equity, right?
Sure.
Same like if you buy a fixer-upper house, and if you do all the work yourself, you can turn around, flip that house, and sell it for more. With a boat, you could do that, but it's a tremendous, I want to emphasize, a tremendous amount of work.
And you can only pay yourself 5 cents an hour.
And it's not the funnest work. If you've never done this stuff, if you've never done fiberglass.
What's wrong with fiberglassing?
You gotta not like yourself. Yeah, just thinking about it, right? I mean, it's you got to put on Tyvek suits and respirators. And you got to invest in all this stuff, and it's miserable. It's kind of miserable work. Parts of it are fun. The mechanical stuff, I like, but you're crawling around in a bilge for a year and a half to save.
It's a lot. It's a lot of work
to save $100,000.
Right.
It's trade-offs, right?
It's trade-offs.
It's all trade-offs.
All about trade-offs.
Yeah.
100%.
So now, if you not going to do the work yourself. Still on the labor topic here. Who's going to do the work? Are you going to take it to some boatyard in Mexico?
Oh, no, I'm not going to do that.
Where everything is like, it'll hold.
Splash zone the whole boat.
Yeah. You got to find somebody pretty good. You don't want to have, and I'm not saying that like, we're the only people that do good repowers. There's plenty of good outfits out there.
True.
But you better find somebody who has experience doing that kind of, like us. We're specific. We do Cummins, and we do like 25 to 80-foot boats.
Right, mid-range. And a lot of the boats we do are commercial, but not all of them. A lot of the boats we do are also recreational for guys that like high-end boats, Bertrams and Raddens and Crystalliners, and the list goes on.
Yeah, we don't touch outboards. We don't touch pod drives. We don't touch out drives. I mean, we have a very specific focus, and that helps us stay good at what we do. And so if you're going to find somebody who does a repower for you, if you're going to hire somebody, make sure that they have a lot of experience. You can see some other of their work they've done, diesel, mid-range.
Have some references.
Yeah, they better have some references. So something to think about. And the cost can vary widely. I mean, some guys will work for $25-$30 an hour. Some guys are billing out at $175 an hour.
I would argue that in this industry, you definitely get what you pay for.
Yeah.
Guys that are experienced and know what they're doing with the boat building aspect and with the powertrain configuration aspects, you're going to get what you pay for. And if you're paying $50 an hour, you're going to get $50 an hour worth of quality.
Yeah.
I would argue that through and through, just based on what I've seen, over the last 15 years.
Yeah. Now, circling back to cases, I want to bring up another case. So we talked a lot about gas to diesel. What if you already have a diesel boat? Like, let's say you got an old Cat or something, or I don't know, an old Volvo. Remember that we did the one that had the TAMD or whatever. Mm-hmm. You might have a boat that's already diesel. In that case, things could be a little bit less extreme, depending. Could vary a lot, right? You might have an appropriate prop shaft angle and strut. You might even have a close enough prop to start with. You
transmission.
Certainly have the right fuel tanks, right?
Probably.
Maybe your fuel filtration's okay. Maybe that's not a huge expense anyway. You're still going to need new instrumentation, probably new mounts just because of the different footprint. But it's a lot more approachable if the boat is already diesel, I would say. Wouldn't you agree?
I would agree with that. If the boat is already configured, set up for diesel, depending on which diesels they are, how old they are, what horsepower rating, how they're configured, are they old naturally aspirated diesels or are they more modern diesels? But I would agree with you and say, that you're a lot closer to the finish line starting with a boat that's set up and configured that way as opposed to going from gasoline, powered engines.
Yeah. And if it's a single engine boat, I mean, you might be in the 150 or less range. I mean, It might not be $250,000. It might be 120.
Again, when we talk about repowering, you have fixed costs, right? The variable costs are the R&R, right? The fixed costs are, I need an engine,
right?
Okay, I need a transmission, I need this and this. Those are all fixed things. So you can assess those in the beginning of your, adventure of wanting to repower, and at least have a starting point. But also knowing that these engines are that expensive, you're right. No matter what you do, even if it's a single engine boat, I'm gonna start at $80,000 because that's all the things I need physically to be on the boat.
Right.
Anything past that is either time and materials or what have you. So that's the variable portion that you have much less control over.
Right. Right. Yeah. And so, and just roughly speaking, I mean, a mechanical 6B Recon can be as cheap as what? I have 30, 40 grand.
Yeah, it depends on what engine.
Depending on which one, but
we're talking about a 210. I mean, you know, what's funny is, and I know all of you watching know this because I'm sure all of you, if you have a boat, you just know it. But over the last 10 years, especially once COVID hit, it kind of threw everything on its head, pricing wise. And again, I've been here since 2011, somewhere around there, and I've seen how Cummins prices their products. I've seen how the industry as a whole has been pricing their products, and we can all sit here and agree that inflation has kind of run rampant. Now we're dealing with tariffs and all these other things too, which is affecting Cummins and all these other things. So, you know, if you were pricing out engines and running gear 10 years ago, and you hadn't done it again in another, let's say 2015, and now you're doing it in 2025, it'll make your head spin.
Yeah.
Because what used to cost, let's say 30 grand, now literally costs 60 grand.
Yeah.
Right? Things have absolutely just about doubled in the last 10 years.
Oh, what's a wet M11? Like 70 grand?
That's $75,000.
Yeah.
And a QSC, $70-some thousand.
Yeah.
Where 10 years ago, that might have been a $50,000 or $45,000, maybe even $40,000 engine.
Right.
And so, but again, it is what it is. The whole world is experiencing this, so I think we've all kind of normalized it. But again, those prices are what they are.
Yes.
Right?
So you're looking at like 35 to 80,000, depending on which engine. If we're talking
with hard parts,
Cummins mid range, $35,000 to $80,000 per engine.
Yeah, per configuration, per port is that, starboard is that, right?
Yeah. So you know it adds up quick, and that's before any labor or anything. So just trying to give you guys some rough, idea of what's really involved here. So we've kind of talked about, some ballpark numbers. We've talked about labor. We talked about certain different cases, gas versus already has a diesel. Twin engine versus single engine is a big difference too. I mean, you're double everything, right?
Sure.
Talked about remodeling. Let's talk about good candidates. Who's a good candidate for a repower? First of all, anybody who uses their boat to make their living, right?
Yeah, that's the top tier, 100%.
That's if you use your boat to make a living, you probably don't want to slap some outboard on there,
Yeah, what still amazes me to this day is that even locally, there's guys out there that still run out, 60 miles with a 300 horsepower outboard, and they make their living that way.
And it works.
Yeah, it works. But and those engines nowadays, honestly, are very reliable.
Yeah.
But again, it's cost benefit. How much are you making against how much, every time a commercial guy runs out there to do his work, there's always a cost component.
Right.
You got to pay for fuel, and you got to pay for all these other things. Maybe bait, maybe who knows what it is, right?
Yeah.
All those things add up, and that's going to take away from the bottom line.
Yeah. And these outboards now are like 80 grand too, aren't they?
They're very expensive.
A 300 horsepower outboard, or
I don't know what,
but I think I don't know.
They're expensive.
But they're
too.
expensive. They're north of 50. So the cost difference isn't huge, although you got that's a transmission. It's kind of a lot. It's your running gear. It's everything all in one neat package.
Right.
So you're saving some money. But for heavier boats, you don't really have an option. An outboard is just going to be an egg beater. A lobster boat, let's say, like Andre's lobster boat.
Like a trap boat that wants, if you're a lobster guy and you have a lobster permit out here on the West Coast in the Pacific, you want to maximize everything, right? You want to maximize how many traps can I get out there? How many traps can I pull? How much, how many lobsters can I bring back? And that's all a byproduct of weight at that point and windage and things, right? So you're not going to run out with a 35-foot Downey style boat with two outboards on there, full of traps.
Plus, you need hydraulics.
Yeah, it does not make any sense whatsoever.
Make sense, yeah. Right. So the commercial guys, especially the heavier commercial guys, it really makes sense. It's a big investment, but then you have a boat that you can work for the next 10, 15 years. And then if you need a new motor, you can generally just drop in the same motor on the same mount, same transmission, just remove and replace. It's a quick,
we see that a lot.
Quick job guys, the boatyard can do,
Right. A lot of local guys that we work with and have been working with 20, 30 years, have had the same boat.
Yeah.
Right. And they take care of their boat
Yep.
and they take care of their engine and they have maintenance intervals and they do all these things. And they come in, they say, I've got 13,000 hours on this engine. And as a good measure, so I can sleep good at night,
Right.
I'm going to drop a brand new engine in here and sell the old one.
Right. Remember when we had Jim calling me on the show?
Yeah.
He talked about all the different engines he had been through.
Like 7 engines.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. And several of them the same because he just wears them out and pop a new one in.
That's it.
And for that case, it makes sense.
Sure.
Another good candidate I would say is people with just these people exist that don't have any kind of budget constraint. Some people,
who are these people?
I don't know. They're either trust fund people or they just had a successful business or they just, for whatever reason, won the lottery. Their dad was rich. Who knows?
Want the best of the best then.
But some people just have, a couple $100,000 here, a couple $100,000 there, big, pretty soon we're talking real money. If you're like that and you want a boat the way you want it, then by all means, like if you're not financially motivated, let's say, even if it's maybe still a good amount of money for you, it's just, you're like, hey, I'm retiring. This is what I want to do.
Yeah. It's my dream boat.
I got, I'm set up, I got my retirement. I got plenty of savings. It's not a big deal for me to sink $200,000-300,000 into having my dream boat. Then, okay. That's a great candidate, and then you can get everything just the way you want.
Sure.
And, yeah. Email us if we got a great
You're
boat
one of those guys.
Yeah, we got a boatyard for you.
I'd also argue, kind of extending that a little bit. If you're a boat lover and you're a recreational guy, okay, and you just love boating in general, and you tend to go long distances, like all these guys that go on the Great Loop and the guys that go up the West Coast up to the San Juan Islands and all these things, I would argue that the only practical way to do that would be to have a boat that is diesel powered.
Right.
If you're gonna go on long adventures, and this is your thing, and you're gonna stop at all these anchorages and do all this stuff, it doesn't make any sense to have a gasoline powered boat. Right. In my opinion, it makes sense to have a reliable diesel powered boat. Right.
Whether that means buying one or doing we talked about there are ways to do a kind of a budget repower.
Sure.
But. Or building the dream boat, which a lot of people do, build the dream boat for the Great Loop. That's it. I want it a certain way. And then one of the other good candidates I would say is like you with your Mustang, right? Like that was your dad's car, and I would say he handed it down to you, but he sold it to you.
Yeah, he sold it. Yeah.
Cheapskate.
Yeah,
sold it to you. But you had this car that was in the family, and so you went and had it, nice restoration done.
Sure.
And invested money. You probably could have bought a nicer car for cheaper.
I could have totally bought a nicer car.
But if you have that boat it's either a rare boat or it's a boat it's hard to find, or it was your grandpa's and then your dad's and now it's yours and it's still got the old, Caterpillars that your grandpa put in it. It's time for a fresh repower. It might make sense to stretch financially for the right reasons.
And I think a lot of the repowers like the Sweet Bippy and some of the other boats, the Davy Jones boat and others, I think that's exactly what the impetus of those repowers are. It's like, I like my boat so much that I'm gonna make an unwise financial investment,
right,
and get it the way I want because I'm gonna use the boat and it's sentimental to me.
Exactly.
Right? It's just it's just like having a classic car. I'm sure if someone has an old airplane, you sink their money into it and it's not financially sound. It's not a wise investment, but it's something you do for your heart, right?
Yeah, and it's a great hobby. I mean, if you have the means and you're passionate about it and the boat is special to you, then it can make sense.
Sure.
So I'd say those are some of the good candidates. Can you think of any other good candidates?
No.
The rest of you, run.
Don't do it.
Don't do it. Buy a nice little lake boat,
Yeah.
Go swim in the warm water of some beautiful lake in the summer.
It's lovely.
Yeah. And put the boat on the trailer and forget about it the rest of the year. The whole boat costs you like $10,000.
I can't tell you. I mean, how many boats do we have in our yard back here that just, the dream is still there.
Oh yeah,
still there.
And if you're looking at a boat that's either free or just somewhat dilapidated, like it needs paint and interior and the engines are gone, just run, man. I mean, just run. If you shouldn't, unless you've got nothing but time and money. I mean, nothing but time and money.
Nothing else.
Nothing else. You've got time and you got money, and one in each hand, and you're like, I sure have.
Let's do this.
Gosh, I have too much time. Man, I have too much money. Then, okay, You
Boy, do we have a boat for you.
can bring an old boat back to life.
Oh yeah, it can be done.
Otherwise, it's gonna just be you're gonna be like everybody else. You're gonna get that boat somewhere. You're gonna realize what's into it, what's involved in trying to bring it back to life. And trust me, there's no way. Boats, once they get to that certain point, it's so rare.
Well, like I said, that we have boats in our yard right here.
We chop them up with a Sawzall and put them in the
dream
dumpster.
Started so fresh and the energy was so pure. And then just slowly, it gets degraded over time, and that dream just doesn't want to die.
Yeah.
But they're still paying for the boat here.
Yeah, and the appeal is that it's free. Okay, it's free. But if you spent, let's say, $5,000 on a boat that actually kind of had okay interior and maybe kind of faded paint, but at least some of the things worked, you're going to save yourself 10 times that from an old free, trash boat.
Right.
You never make your money back. Do not get a free boat where nothing works. They're not only are they worthless, they're negative value. You're going to pay to store it, and then you're going to pay to chop it up.
We are preaching the good word right now.
We're trying to help you guys.
Yeah, we are preaching the good word.
Be careful of the dream.
Yeah.
That's
what we say. We guys always got the boat dream.
Yeah.
Or the boat disease or whatever you want to call it. But once it gets you and latches onto you.
Yeah.
Oh, it's hard to shake. I mean, we even have it. And we've got a couple of boats back here that we're building.
Yeah.
And so
run away from that free boat, go back to your job, say, I'm going to put off retirement for another year, save up all the money you make, and then buy a boat that's nice.
Right.
Yeah.
Amen.
Yeah. Okay. So that kind of wraps up our deep dive into repowering. Do you have anything else to add to repowering?
I think we've covered it all. I think we've scared everyone, and the boat sales, the industry as a whole is going to collapse now.
Well, I mean, there's lots of people that it does make sense to repower. There are people that can afford it. There are people that are going to use their boat commercially. There are people that are willing to put that extra labor component in, and maybe, so not to say that repowers, we're not saying they never make sense. We're just trying to kind of paint a picture for you.
What we're doing is pre-qualifying
so you kind
people before you ask the question, understand what you're getting into.
Yeah. This hopefully gives you some perspective
of
what this is all about, some of the different cases, and some of the cases where it makes sense, some of the cases where it doesn't make sense.
True.
And it does make sense in a lot of cases. We don't mean to scare everybody away, but yeah. Run. Okay. I have another Between Two Sterns.
This is a good one?
Yeah, this is a good one.
All right. Who's this from?
This is actually, I stole this one again from boatdesign.net.
Oh,
it's
thank you,
it's a forum.
boatdesign.net.
Yeah, from Brian on boatdesign.net.
Okay.
I used Brian's in a previous episode. So thank you, Brian, if you're watching this. So a young fellow from Oklahoma moves to California and goes to a big everything under one roof department store kind of thing, like I won't say any names.
Emporium.
Yeah, looking for a job. So the manager says, do you have any sales experience? And the kid says, yeah, I was a salesman back home in Oklahoma. So the boss liked that. He gave the kid a job. And he said, you start tomorrow. I'll come at the end of the day and see how we did. So his first day on the job was rough, but he got through it. And after the store was locked up, the boss came down, said, how many sales did you do today? And the kid said, just one. And the boss is like, one? Our salespeople usually do 20 or 30 sales in a day. You're going to have to improve considerably, or you're going to have to get another job because, that's not going to cut it. And he said, well, how much was the sale for? He says, well, it was $112,237.64. That's a big sale.
It is a big sale.
The kid says, the boss says, how'd you sell? How'd you do that? And he says, well, first I sold him a small fish hook. Then I sold him a medium fish hook. Then I sold him a larger fish hook. Then I sold him a new fishing rod. Then I asked him where he was going to go fishing. And he said, down at the lake. So I said, well, you're going to need a new boat. So I went down to the boat department and I sold him a new bass boat. Then he said he didn't think his Honda Civic could pull it. So I took him down to the automotive department and sold him a new Ford pickup. I asked him how long he was going to be out on the lake. And after he said 5 or 6 days, I took him down to the RV department and we got him a sliding camper for his new truck. The boss says, a guy came in here to buy a fish hook and you sold him a boat, a truck, and a camper? The kid says, no, he came in here to buy a box of tampons for his wife. And I said, well, your weekend's shot. You might as well go fishing. Right? It's a good one.
It's a good one.
Thank you, Brian from boatdesign.net.
Boatdesign.net.
Sorry I'm ripping your stuff off, but I need more people to send me stuff through Boat Talk. Boat Talk at sbmar.com.
That's right.
Email us. So that about wraps up our show for today. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.
All right.
All right, we are live.
Okay.
Okay. Oh, hi.
I'm gonna fix that.
This warehouse needs work.
Yeah, it does. All right. Hello. Welcome.
Welcome to Boat Talk.
Hello. Welcome.